inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2008, was a fabulous player. We'll always love Patrick Ewing. Patrick Ewing never delivered me a championship. Why should I believe he's going to deliver me ping pong balls that's going to give me the number 1 overall pick? Somebody's got to say it. Why am I to believe that he's going to be able to deliver me ping pong balls when he couldn't deliver me a championship? Albeit because I would love to say it was because Jordan was standing in his way. But remember, so was Hakeem Olajuwon. He had 2 years while Jordan was gone. Didn't happen. One, they lost to Houston in Game 7, courtesy of John Starks' 2 for 18 performance. But Olajuwon, Hakeem the Dream, was something special against Patrick Ewing. And then we know what happened the next year with the finger roll against Indiana that bounced out. So let's be very, very clear. Let's be very, very clear. I love Patrick Ewing. But if this is an effort to believe that the spirit of Dave DeBusschere and that experience from 1985 is going to descend upon the Knicks organization now, I'm sorry, I'm not buying it. And I'll gladly admit that I'm wrong. Because I love Patrick Ewing. And I love the Knicks. But what am I supposed to believe? What is next? You're going to tell me that James Dolan is going to sit up there and just descend his grace upon us? Am I supposed to believe this? Huh? This is, look, man, I am suffering. It's hard to take. How many years? I'm talking to you as listeners of this radio show, as a native New Yorker, but I gotta admit, Jonathan, John Winthrop, I'm talking to God himself. I need prayer. I need my prayers answered for just once. Please, please, please. Just one time when it comes to these Knicks.
The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, and you can always get in touch with the show through the 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed.
ESPN Radio recognizes National Military Appreciation Month, brought to you by the Naval Federal Credit Union. Proudly serving the armed forces, the DoD, veterans, and their families for over 80 years. Federally insured by the NCUA. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to make a transition. I'll get back to NBA draft lottery talk in just a few minutes, but I got to veer left for a few minutes because the National Football League had some news. The New York Jets have relinquished Mike Maccagnan, or they've relieved Mike Maccagnan of his GM duties. The interim GM for the moment is Adam Gase, the new head coach for the New York Jets, previously serving as the head coach in Miami over the last 3 years. I need explanations. I need somebody to make sense of this. And who better to call than our resident NFL analyst extraordinaire, does an outstanding job on NFL Live, Sports Center, as well during the regular season, during the football season period. And, of course, he contributes to First Take on a regular basis. My buddy, the one and only Ryan Clark, is on the line with us right now. What's going on, big time? How are you?
Man, nothing much. What's going on in New York? Y'all can't get the first pick. Y'all firing GM.
Why you rubbing it in, man? Why you rubbing it in? You're supposed to be my boy. You're supposed to be my boy, and you rubbing it in. I knew you were going to go there. Man. You're a Louisiana native, former star at LSU, and you
we
down
got
there.
it, brother. We got the first pick.
It's a damn shame. Ryan Clark laughing at me about this. Let me get into the football stuff real quick. Ryan Clark, help me out for a second here. If you're the New York Jets, why does a team, it's one thing to fire your GM, but after the draft, what is this about? Why did this happen now?
You know what? It's actually hard to explain, Stephen A., because not only do you fire him after the draft, you fire him after him hiring Adam Gase. You know, a lot of times if you want that fresh start, you get a new GM. That GM gets an opportunity to bring in his own head coach, and you go to the draft that way. You've essentially let this GM, you let Mike Maccagnan do everything that you want a GM to do in the offseason, and then you fire him. And honestly, Stephen A., let's look at some of the things that he has done. He was smart enough to understand when Jamal Adams drops to you at number 6, you take him no matter what else is on the board because he's the best player available. He really gets Sam Darnold, who going into the draft, and he had ranked and rated as the highest quarterback in the draft last year. And then you get Quentin Williams, who was another guy who was in talks about the best overall prospect in the draft. C.J. Mosley, Le'Veon Bell. I mean, Mike Maccagnan has done an amazing job this offseason and actually in the past few years. So to fire him now makes absolutely no sense. And now you leave the Jets in a situation where Adam Gase, a guy who was actually fired and jettisoned out of the Miami Dolphins franchise, is now your acting GM. It's really puzzling to me, and it really looks like Christopher Johnson is kind of flailing at the wind, the team CEO, on what he wants to do.
Well, that's one of the biggest reasons I called you is because I know that you have some history with Adam Gase, and when he got hired by the New York Jets, and I had questions, you came right on this radio show and sort of, you know, just calmed the waters a little bit in terms of what I was feeling. He coached Miami for 3 years. He took him to the playoffs his first year, didn't get there the last 2. Obviously, Ryan Tannehill, along with a few other injuries, really obliterated their chances of making the postseason last year. But he didn't overwhelm me. He wasn't a guy I necessarily thought deserved a head coaching job with the Jets, but I didn't have a problem with it. But now that he's your interim GM until you hire somebody else, doesn't that reek of a situation where you're getting rid of Maccagnan because you want the guy that he might, meaning Gase, may want up in there?
You know, that was actually my first thought when it happened, and especially making a head coach your interim GM. You know, usually you go with, you know, the director of pro personnel, or you go with somebody who has actually been in the scouting office, someone who's actually made roster moves. And so to promote Adam Gase, a guy who we've never talked about having this type of power, a guy who we've never seen in this type of position. And here's what I'll say about it, Stephen A., though. This is the most quiet time for a GM, right? A lot of roster moves aren't being made. A lot of teams are full to capacity as far as who they're going to have in OTAs, who they're going to have for minicamp. So it's really a quiet time where you don't necessarily need a guy who has done that job. Now, you absolutely need someone who has some type of history, some type of experience in it by the time you start fall camp, start making roster moves there. But for right now, it's okay for Adam Gase to do it, but it definitely seems like, okay, if you're going to let Adam Gase be the interim GM, if you're going to fire Mike Maccagnan at this time, you want someone who can have a marriage between head coach and GM with Adam Gase. But it's puzzling also because if Mike Maccagnan hired him, wouldn't you think they already had some type of relationship?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you think they already had some type of connection? So it almost makes you think that some things has gone on in the building since Adam Gase has arrived that makes them think that those two aren't a match.
Ryan Clark right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. The other thing that's bothering me is that some dude, Daniel Jeremiah, is that the name, Nuno? Daniel Jeremiah, works for the NFL Network, a writer for NFL, what have you. He's rumored to be in line for consideration for the GM job with the New York Jets, according to reports. So here we have another analyst. Hey, Ryan, I'm wondering when the hell you gonna get a call? How about Louis Riddick? How about Louis Riddick? How about me on the basketball side? Since we got pundits, commentators, or information dudes showing up on the air that are suddenly qualified for executive positions in the National Football League. Can you explain this new phenomenon with me? First it's Mike Mayock, now it's this guy.
You know, I mean, and you also can't forget John Lynch.
That's right.
With the San Francisco 49ers.
But at least he played. At least he played, though.
He absolutely played. He absolutely played. You know, it's starting to become a situation to where you're questioning what these people are looking at, and also are things totally becoming about relationship and perception. Right? When I say relationship, Stephen A., there's not going to be people that call you because there won't be people that look like you making those decisions.
That's right.
Right? There won't be people that call me because it's the same thing, but they have a comfort, a familiarity with these people. They feel They feel that they can get them in the building and they can have like mindsets and like thoughts, so they bring them in. That's not going to happen for us, right? We don't have the right paint job for that. And so then when you look at a guy like Daniel Jeremiah, I think he's been fine, working for the NFL Network.
Right.
I actually think he does a good job.
He does do a good job.
I think he does a good job in his TV role. We've actually talked back and forth in messages about certain prospects. I think he's really smart. But does that say he's qualified to do that job?
Well, the other thing, Ryan, that I'll throw out this with you, as a pundit, a commentator, and in my position, hosting a radio show, hosting a television show, being an insider in the past, etc. Okay, excuse me, when you hiring guys straight out of television, like the Mayocks of the world, like the John Lynch, even though he played, but it was in the booth after, and if you're considering the Daniel Jeremiahs of the world, and I'm certainly not accusing any of those individuals of any wrongdoing, and it's not their fault that they're being considered, on Mayock's case, hired for these jobs. Please don't, it's not casting any aspersions on them. But if you're coming from the TV world into those positions, when you're disseminating information as a broadcaster or pundit on the airwaves, how did you go about the business of ingratiating yourself with these people to the point where they would think to hire you for an executive positions once they got head coaching jobs? You see where I'm going?
Well, I think one, how it works. You know what I mean? You scratch my back, I scratch yours. And you definitely have to walk that line. Someone who does their job in the way that you do it, what I love about you is you have inside information, but you never give away your source, but you're very honest in critiquing everyone.
That's right.
Right? It's never a situation where anybody is above you saying, hey, I don't like what you've done here. This is not the way I would have gone about this, which is why people follow you, people watch you, because they know they're going to get the truth. I think a lot of guys understand in order to create these relationships, I can't say anything negative, or I can't be opposed to what these people do, or I'm going to feed them information when they need it. And that's the only way you can develop a relationship like that, to where someone feels like, okay, I can now bring you into the office because you are for me. And listen, there's nothing wrong with doing your job that way. There are many ways to do this job. And I think those are the ways that these people find themselves in situations now to be hired doing jobs they've actually never done.
Ryan Clark, I appreciate you, my man. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. I just needed some understanding as to why Adam Gates would be an interim GM when I'm not even sure he should be the damn coach. But that's just me. I don't know. By the way, before... Go ahead.
My boy got the eyes of a champion. You know that.
Oh, Lord, the eyes of a champion. Really? He had the eyes of something else when I saw him at that damn press conference. Needed to be checked that day. But anyway, listen, last question real quick before I let you get on out of here. What do you think the Jets are going to do after all is said and done with the moves like this being made? What do you expect from them this year?
I think the Jets are set from a roster standpoint.
Okay.
I think they have players that they need in place. But they also have to get somebody in this position and in this office to continue to get those people developed and add on to the team around Sam Darnold.
Right.
And if they think that Daniel Jeremiah is that guy, then good. But I think this team is set at least for this year. Mike Maccagnan actually did a good job.
Ryan Clark, I appreciate you, man, but I really don't want to talk to you anymore because you're probably in Louisiana, and I'm not feeling good about that state right now. Not after they got Zion Williamson from me. I'm not feeling good about them right now.
We're going to celebrate Zion for y'all, man.
Whatever. Goodbye. Right. Ryan Clark, my brother, right here, ESPN Radio, ESPN News, 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. By the way, people, I'm here to tell you about Zelle, a quick and easy way to send and receive money right from your banking app. Not sure what to get someone for their birthday, graduation, or housewarming? Send them money with Zelle.